Hello everybody and welcome back to Beat Sweets. Today I'm going to take you through a step-by-step tutorial on how I decorate these fun little spooky Halloween cookies. We're going to be doing a ghost. I'm going to be using this snowflake cookie to actually make a spider web. And then the pumpkin is going to be like a jack-o'-lantern, kind of with the Nightmare Before Christmas theme. And we're going to do a creepy eyeball with the round one. So I'm looking forward to showing you guys how I do this. I don't use any special tips or anything. I just use the pastry bags. And you already have all the colors here that we're going to use. We have black, we have a outlining white, and a more liquidy white to fill the cookie with. We got orange, green, and red. And we got our little fun sprinkles. We're actually not using the sprinkles, but I included them in the kit that I am selling, the cookie decorating kit, just in case people want to add sprinkles to any of them. They're little pumpkins and black sprinkles, but we will be using the little candy googly eyes for, I believe we're using it for the ghost for sure, and I'm not sure if I'll use it for the eyeball. But let's take you through the first step. Let's put the pumpkin to the side because these three are going to be outlined in white, so I'm going to get started with those. I included little cupcake liners in the kit, and then there's also a skewer. The only other thing you're going to need is a pair of scissors to cut the tips for the bags. But all these three are outlined in white, so what I'm going to do is take one of my cupcake liners, and I think this was the thicker one. I already cut it. Make sure, I will show you an example. Sometimes the icings want to separate. For example, this green one, do you see how some of the colors kind of separated? So you're going to need to massage these when you get them, because for some reason they just tend to settle and separate when they've been sitting for a while, but it's completely normal. All you have to do is massage everything in, and when you cut your tip, just squeeze some onto here and test it out and just see. It helps take all the air bubbles out as well, but you really want to mix this in good. I've already been using this white one, so it's already mixed. So all I really have to do, I already cut the tip, just squeeze it out and see, make sure it's coming out good, make sure it's a good flow. That is perfect. So I'm going to start just by outlining. So let's start outlining this snowflake that's actually going to be a spider web. So I just go along the whole edge, following the design that it already has. And then you want to set that aside to let it dry a little bit, so that way later on we can fill them. So we'll put that there. We'll do the eyeball. So you just go along the edge very carefully. It's alright if it's not perfect. Once you do this often and you get faster at it, you get straighter lines. So you can go around it twice if you need to. And then let's outline the ghost just around the edges. Alright. Patch this up here. So we're going to let those dry. And then let's outline the pumpkin while we're here. So same thing, I massaged everything back in, I cut the tip, and I'm just gonna go around the edges of the actual pumpkin, but not the stem part, because we're gonna do the stem part in green later. But let's just do the pumpkin in orange. Alright, so this is the more liquidy icing that you would use for filling, and I'm gonna show you here. When you squeeze it onto this, you can see how it just kind of blends in. That's what you want. So the outlining one is a little bit thicker because you want it to be like a border to hold the more liquidy icing in. So all you're going to do is fill it in, and I will show you what the skewer is for. You don't want to overdo it in this part. You did outline it and this will hold the icing in, but if you overfill it, it will run. It would like pool over, so you definitely don't want to overfill it either way. So you take your wooden skewer and you just help it go along, help it fill in all the cracks. Sometimes it'll just fill in by itself, but sometimes it needs a little help, a little extra push. So that's what the skewer is for. They also sell special tools for this, but I don't find it necessary to spend money on them. You could also use like a cake pop stick. So all I'm doing is pushing the icing along so that it fills all the cracks, and then we have to let this dry completely. For the outline part, you don't have to let it dry too much, maybe like 10 minutes. But for this part, you do want to let it dry completely or almost completely before you begin decorating on the actual cookie, because if you were to decorate on it now, it's just gonna all blend in together. So our ghost is done, our spider web and our eyeball also needs a white base, so I'm gonna go ahead and do those while I'm at it. I think this was the thicker one. Let me see. No, that was the thinner one. All right, let's just go around it. All right, and use the skewer to flatten everything out. You can tap it a few times if you want. It makes it dry up a little bit smoother. So those are gonna dry completely. We're not gonna mess with them anymore. I'm going to fill in my pumpkin with orange next. So again, I'm gonna make sure this is well mixed, and I'm going to squeeze it just to check for how it's coming out, because you definitely don't want to have air bubbles or lumps in there. Sometimes the powdered sugar can leave lumps. So I'm just going to squeeze a bunch in here. Make sure you wipe the tip of your skewer so that you don't get any other colors in there, and then just help it along. I don't have any thick green icing right now, so I'm just gonna do the stem in green as is, but it should be okay. You really only need the thick icing for the borders when you're doing a large surface like this. When it's like little details like the stem, it doesn't matter too much. Let's lean it over here. As you can tell, it's almost starting to drip over here, so let's encourage it not to drip, and just keep helping it along until the whole cookie is covered. And you can also take your finger and run it across a few times. There's a little spot over here. If you ever see any bubbles like this, just pop them and smooth it over. But we're also gonna draw designs on this, like the jack-o'-lantern face, so it's okay if you do get some mistakes in there. So let's do the green. I have not used this green yet, so I have to really massage that in there because it started separating. And I'm gonna cut. Always start with the tiniest bit that you can cut off, and then you can work your way down if you didn't cut it enough. But you definitely don't want to overcut it in the beginning because you can't really take away from it. So that's pretty good for me. You can cut it a little bit thicker if you wanted to. So I'm just going to go around the stem. And then just fill it in. Alright, looks good to me. So let's just let all these dry because we don't want to pipe directly on them right now. And I'll be back once they dry enough that I can decorate on, and I'll show you all the little details. Alright guys, we are back. I'm going to continue letting the pumpkin dry up. Let me wipe this off. You can kind of tell when they start drying because it starts getting like a matted finish to it instead of like the shiny glossy. You could slightly touch it. You don't want to jam your finger in it because you will leave like an indent of your finger, because we know this is not fully dry. They usually take a couple hours to fully dry, but if you can slightly touch it and it's not messing anything up, you are good to go for piping directly onto the cookie. So I'm excited for this spider web. So I'm gonna get my black. I already cut the tip as fine as I could, but I'm gonna test it out and just make sure you can smoothly write with it, because you're gonna be doing the spider web design on here, and you want to make sure it just glides kind of smoothly and there's no lumps in there. So for the spider web, I'm going to outline just like we did in the beginning, outline the whole snowflake, but this time in black, and that's where we're gonna build off our spider web. So you don't have to do it right at the edge, but it's just to start off the shape of the spider web. So go along the whole outer edge of the cookie. Doesn't have to be perfect. At the end of the day, it's gonna look like a spider web. So just do the same thing we did in the beginning. Now, to get the actual web part, you're gonna start from one corner of the snowflake to the other in as straight as possible line as you can. So just like that, and then you're almost making like a star shape. You're just getting the biggest corners, the biggest tips, and going all the way across till you unite it. Another one over here, and in between each one, just do it one more time in the middle. Alright, so that's done, and now we have to connect the web. So we're gonna do the connections sort of like this. It's like a C shape or like a U shape, but all you're doing is connecting everything. So from one tip to another tip, but you don't want to just do it in a straight line, you want to curve it so it has that spider web shape. And we're going to do multiple layers of this, so let me just finish this first one, because after you finish the first one, it will kind of give you an outline for where the other ones are going to go. Alright, so that's the first row. Now you're going to do the same thing, but it's going to get tighter and tighter and smaller as you have less space to work with. So I'm probably just going to fit 3 rows in here. And keep going and going. It's like little U shapes. Alright, we're getting a little lumpy over here, so let me just squeeze it. Alright. Actually, I think I'm gonna leave it like that. I think that looks good like that. And then also, optional, you can add a little spider. You can use some of the other colors, but I'll probably just do it in black. Just draw a little spider here. You don't have to do it. I think it looks cool just without it, but you put the little spider, and then you could put a little head on it and draw some little legs. It's kind of hard to squeeze in this little space, but I think it looks cute. Alright, so that is the finished spiderweb cookie. I think it looks cool. So the next easy one is the ghost. Let's do the ghost. Now for the ghost, I thought the googly eyes will look cool. we are gonna have to put a little bit of icing in the back of the candy. So just put a little bit just to help it stick. All right. So just put them there and press it down. Looks kind of funny. And we're gonna use the black again to draw the mouth, like the typical ghost mouth. It's like a oval shape. So let's just do that with that same black icing. And just for a little extra, I'm gonna write out the word boo with an exclamation mark. So you just want to do that very slowly. And make sure you give yourself enough space to fit the whole word in. Alright, so that was pretty simple. Look how cute it looks. So that's it for the spider web and the ghost. Now the eyeball, let me get my little sketch that I made. Alright, the eyeball, we're going to start with doing a green base for the colored part of the eyeball. So let me just squeeze some of this green out. So I'm just going to do a round circle in the middle. And fill it in. Again, you can use the skewer to kind of help you push it along. It's kind of like a circle. And then we are going to add black, a circle in the middle of that in black. And I'm going to leave a little spot to add some more white. Just a little speck in the middle of the eyeball. I'm going to try to clean up this little edge a little. It doesn't have to be perfect, but alright, so that's good enough. And the eyeballs usually have like red veiny lines on it. So I have some red, and you want to cut it really, really thin again. Just start with the tiniest bit at the tippy top and test it out inside of your cupcake liner. So you see how thin that is? So that's perfect because you want to have thin little veins coming out. I'm going to do some longer ones and some shorter ones. So let's start with the shorter ones. So you just kind of zigzag them, curl them. And then we'll do a longer one that kind of reaches up to the edge. Shorter one. A longer one. Shorter one. So you just take turns like that until you've done the whole cookie. So that's going to be like a spooky eyeball. One more. Alright, and that is it for the eyeball. You can also outline it. I think it looks fine just like that with the white border. But you could outline it in another color. Alright, and then the pumpkin is the last one. You can see here it kind of dripped, but that's alright. You can just wipe it right off. Alright, let me get all my stuff together for the pumpkin. I'll be right back. Alright, pumpkin time. Let's get this one done to complete the Halloween set. So I'm going to start with the black because we're going to do the eyes. Alright, so we're gonna do 2 eyebrows first, and they're gonna be curved, similar to the curving motion you did for the spider web. So let's do like that. They almost look like closed eyelids, like if the pumpkin was sleeping. But this is just the eyebrow part. And now we're gonna do the actual eye part. So you're gonna make another loop, another curve right under that. And then we're gonna go down. Kind of like that. Up and then down. And then you're gonna just fill it in. Try to smooth it out a little bit. Alright, I'm gonna add a little extra over here. So that's what it looks like so far. Now I'm gonna do 2 little nose holes, almost like the shape of a sesame seed. Make that one a little bigger. So that's the nose holes, and then we're gonna do like a big grin. So let's make that as big as possible, a nice wide grin. So it kind of looks like the character from the Nightmare Before Christmas. And we're gonna add the little lines. Oh. Like little stitch lines. All across the whole smile. I thought this was a cute idea. Instead of just doing a regular pumpkin or just like the regular jack-o'-lantern design, this would be a little bit different. So that's what it looks like so far. And just for extra, I'm going to add some more green. I'm gonna make like the vines coming out of the pumpkin stem. So to do that, you just start from the pumpkin stem and just do like curls. So like little loopy loops, however you want to do it. Sometimes it clumps up like that, just wipe it off. Just little crinkly lines and curls running down the pumpkin. I'll do one more down here. I think that looks good. Let me add another one here. So however you want to do it. So that is the finished pumpkin. I'm actually going to add some more texture to the stem. Some little stripes going up. Just to make it a little more dimensional. Alright, so that is the finished pumpkin and the finished ghost. I think the ghost is the cutest with the little eyeballs, the spooky eyeball, and the spider web. The spider web is the coolest one, and I feel like it's the easiest one as long as you take your time to do the actual lines. But you saw how easy that was. And then if you wanted to add extra decorations, you can even find like candy spider sprinkles and add that to your spider web. But this is just a simple decoration that you can do. Don't need any special tips. All you have to do is cut the tips of the pastry bags and you can do them in all sorts of different colors. This is just what I chose to keep it simple. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope it taught you that this is not really hard to do at all from your own home. It's very easy to learn, and as you practice more and more, you'll get better at it, and you'll get a lot faster at it as well. Especially if you have like a whole lineup of just one design, you can just knock them out super fast. So this is like super simple to learn. It just takes a little patience because you want to let this stuff dry out in between decorating it. And for this, I would let this dry out for a couple hours, or if you can, leave them out overnight. And so they're nice and hard. So if you want to package them up in little baggies or party favors and stuff like that, you want it to be completely dry before doing any of that. But if you're just gonna eat them, they're good to eat now if you want, or just let them dry. And yeah, it's super simple and they're so adorable. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you're able to make these at home. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks again for joining Beat Sweets, and I will talk to you guys later.